Aston Martin Vantage is, to me, one of the most underrated sports cars out right now. Let me not be too biased, because if I'm gonna be honest, this still looks like a freaking Mazda Miata front, largely because of the squinty little lights and all this crap. Personally, I think they should have kept the lights from the DB10. They didn't do that, whatever. Now, the problem with the Vantage initially in the front is it was just too much space. It was just this big void, right? However, in this particular spec, with the stripes going down the center of it, it does a good job of kind of balancing out the front a little bit, fills it in a little bit, and it doesn't feel like there's a big void. Now, the absolute most beautiful part of the Vantage is the silhouette. Initially, the silhouette did nothing for me. I was like, it's not beautiful. And it's not. This Vantage isn't beautiful, but you know what it is? God, it's sexy as hell. It's just animalistic aggression. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy because when they came out with this car, they were talking about it's a predator and its stance and all this shit like that. Just dismiss all of that. There is an animalistic, aggressive sexiness about this car as far as the silhouette is concerned. I mean, look at it. I'm used to getting my cars in black, so usually I kind of lose all of the lines. But in this color in gray, you really start to see where all the essence of the car really comes from, and it's this side profile. Now, one of the things about this car that I thought was a mistake is this section here. I felt like it needed to be the same color, and I still feel the same way now, because what it does, I thought it was breaking up too much of the silhouette of the car. However, now that it's still kind of annoying me, but if you got it in the same color, this silhouette just flows. And that to me is what Aston should be. Tell me another car within this category and price range, this is their entry-level car, that has this level of sexiness just oozing from it. I love the GT3 Porsche, doesn't have it. The Mercedes GT, it does look good, has striking presence, but looks a little phallic. This is just sex. And I use that a lot, I use that word a lot because it's, when something just evokes a certain emotion out of you, you just can't come up with any other word but to say sex sometimes, because sex is just that passion. Coming around to the back is where all of the personality of the Aston Martin Vantage comes alive. This is aggression. This is pure aggression. The silhouette is sexual aggression. This is pure aggression. You have the quad pipes, you have the aggressive rear diffuser, and then you have that touch of sensuality with this light back here, which comes in and swoops up right here, almost like literally the side profile of a woman's ass. Now, speaking of that, let's talk about that. If we come here and you squat from this portion here on backwards, good God, it's just maniacally, aggressively beautiful. And it's amazing how this car can evoke so many different types of aesthetic beauty. The profile to me is sexual elegance. The back is pure aggression. This is just maniacal, beautiful aggression. I'm just throwing adjectives at you now because I'm just overwhelmed by how beautiful this car is, or aesthetically pleasing this car really is. I sat in the Lamborghini Urus, and that feels like a jet fighter cockpit, but it also feels exceptionally contrived. It's like, this is too much. Now I get it, you're paying $300,000, $400,000 for what is essentially an Audi Q8, and you got to make people feel like they got something different. This is, to me, an intimate cabin. It's an intimate place to be without feeling cramped. And it's just, you just don't get tired of it. Being on the inside of this, like I said, these seats, phenomenal. They hug you without over gripping you. And you sit in and you just feel secure, but also comfortable. It's like being in a weighted blanket. Don't ask me how I know what being in a weighted blanket looks like, but you get the point. Let's do some driving. So, first thing you notice is that sound. The sound of this car, even in sports mode. Right now I have everything in the softest setting. I have the suspension in the softest setting. I have the engine in the softest setting. It's just soft. And this is how you would drive this around town, in the softest setting. Even the paddles have this, I mean, they're long. You don't have to think about it. There's some cars, man, you run the paddles, it's like the active witch hunt to find the damn paddles. This, no. They're right there. Here. I could have full tilt on the steering wheel, and the paddles are still reachable. It's crazy. Think about that, bro. Like, you gotta realize how fun this is. It was just a little piece of shit not too long ago. And now I push a button and I'm like Superman. I freaking love this. And then here, it gets better. Throw it in the track mode and this car just becomes disgusting. Let's talk about utility. So let's say this was my only car. Could I make it work? You can. And that's another thing about this car that makes it one of the most underrated sports cars on the market today. In this class, keep in mind, the caveat is within its class, within its peers, being an entry-level Aston Martin, in its class, to me, it is one of the most underrated cars. When we get to the back of this car is essentially a hatchback. Because it's a hatchback, you have space. Ignore all of the firearm paraphernalia that's sitting in the back here. This is Tejas. This is what we do. I am Colion Noir for all intents and purposes. So, you get loads of space for a sports car. You don't get this, you might get this space a little bit in the Mercedes GT. You don't get this space in a Porsche. Unless you want to count the back a little bit, maybe, depending what you did with the back, with the little cubby area and behind the seats. But by and large, to fit like a suitcase or something to that effect, I could fit my full-size Toomey suitcase and then throw my carry-on bag or my duffel bag back here where this thing is partitioned. And then even then, if I wanted to, I could lay it flat and create an even bigger cavity that's more linear. The Aston Martin Vantage is loud, but if you wanted to, you can make it quiet. And you can do that easily by changing out whether you have it in Sport, Sport Plus, or in track mode. In track mode, it's just obnoxious. But even then, with its obnoxiousness, it is not as obnoxious as the sound coming from the GT3 sometimes when you want it to be quiet. Now let's talk about price. And that's where things kind of change a little bit. 911 Porsche GT3, which I think is a stark competitor to this car, to be honest with you. Some people may disagree, whatever. Those things aren't going for anything under maybe 140, 150, depending what year you get. This starts out around maybe 179, 180, which is kind of high. Yes, you are paying in part for this badge. But I have to be honest with you. For what you pay for the badge, it comes with more than just the name. You drive a 911 Porsche GT3, it's just another Porsche. Now, if you don't care about stuff like that, that's fine. That's great. That's very admirable, actually. You're not a douchebag. Now, if you do like to have some type of experience with your car, if you live in the city and you just drive to and fro to certain different places and you just want those drives to be a little bit more exciting, this car does that. It gives you that, because the X factor part of this car is no one ever sees it. No one sees it. So few people see it, in fact. They see it and they don't know what to say. They just say, is that a Maserati? No, it's not a Maserati, it's an Aston Martin. Now, the beautiful thing about it is there is no way for you to correct somebody who calls it a Maserati and you can do this without sounding like a douche. Hey, what kind of car is this? It's an Aston Martin. The name just flows. And to say what you want, there's something to be said about namesake that can add to the value of a car. This car has a presence on the road like none other. I've never seen a car have so much presence. I've never seen a car turn so many people's heads when you drive by it. It really has that type of presence, but it's not like a Lamborghini Murcielago type presence. It is like a admiration. People look at it and admire the car. They don't look at it in awe, they don't gawk, you don't have the little kids drooling over your car, but the point in the looking is just like, this car is phenomenal, phenomenal. Now, if you're all about numbers and all that crap, sure, it is a Mercedes engine. Sure, it is a turbo, but I guarantee you there is not a turbo engine on the planet that sounds better than this turbo engine, hands down. And just the amount of fun, just the sheer essence of driving this car, to me, makes the Aston Martin Vantage one of the most underrated cars in its category, underrated sports cars in its category, out for sale right now.
If you're wondering where to get your I will not comply, I lost all of my guns in a boating accident, the AR-15 is protected by the Second Amendment, and your state-specific Keep America tactical shirts, click the links in the description section of this video.